I said more than that.
Yeah, that's. Nora, I'm sorry. Oh my God. Like, yeah, nobody tells me that. I just.
Stars collide, creating golden silhouettes up in the sky. Can we be transported to another galaxy? We are everything in love. These precious metals are not yours to buy yourself or name your price. Everything is the same. The light that you see is the light that you are. We are do everything in love. When stars collide.
Good morning. Welcome everyone, and are there any new people today? First timers? We have a first timer over here. Can we get a heart, please?
Oh, she got one. She got one.
Yeah, got a heart?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. David, that was beautiful, thank you. David Johnson is our musician for the day. Our guest speaker, Mr. Michael Bogar. Board member of the week is Mary Ellen, and she also works as the usher. Our chaplain for the day is Debbie Clay. Our youth champion is Cindy. And our hospitality host is Ann and Mary Ellen. They're hanging out to be the hostesses for the day. Everybody is on the spick and span team, and our technology director, Mr. Mark Swink, is back in the corner. Our office assistant is Susan Henderson. And I am your platform speaker of the day. I'm Ron Savage. Let's see. Make sure we get this in.
Ron? The song.
Perfect.
I think you chose the song. You just wait.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow. Praise Him, all creatures hear below.
love, and we want you to know that no matter where you are in your journey of faith, you are always welcome here. We know that the world is a better place when we all willingly share our hearts. We give you the heart as a symbol of the steadfast spirit that lives within each of us, and we ask you to carry this symbol as a member of the Red Heart Fellowship. Let it be a reminder that the love of God is always within you, and to share your heart wherever you go. The Red Heart, as a symbol of fellowship in the world, can spread love one heart at a time. Let's start the movement here. And for those of you who are visiting us for the first time, we want you to know that our speakers are different each week. So please join us again at least 2 times so you can get to know us and what we generate. Our Unity happenings. There, the announcements are in the back of your schedule. We have a Course of Miracles on Thursday from 7 to 8 o'clock. And every Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock, we have a prayer circle here. January 2nd, Susan O'Clair has the New Moon Circle, the Spiritual Star Talks. It's a mini reading, and there's a sign-up sheet out front by the front door on the table there. On January 7th, the guest speaker will be Reverend Karen Hamilton. She comes down from North Kitsap, and it will be the White Stone ceremony that day. On the 14th, we have a guest speaker, Rana Yellowrobe. And on the 13th will be our first men's group gathering. We'll be here from 8 to 11, and we hope the men will make it down for that. That includes you, Uncle Don. No, he's my uncle. I'm old enough for him to be my uncle.
But it's her grandpa.
Oh, that's true. On the 21st, we have Joanna Gabriel, and Mercedes Nicole will be the musician. On the 28th of January, our guest speaker will be Deborah Olive. So, that's what we have going in January. And there are some others, and they will come up as we go. The weekly board report, if you would.
I have to do like Marilyn, pull this down. Good morning.
Good morning.
So we want to remind you that we are live streaming our service. We ask that you keep your conversation down because it is being picked up, especially during the candle lighting and the paper burning. Also, please be sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate. Unity of North Kitsap has a weekly meditation on Tuesday nights, Tuesday, January 2nd at 7 p.m. Drumming, join Walter Moeller for drumming. There is magic in the drum and become one with the rhythm. If you are looking for a great drumming circle, look no further. You don't even have to bring a drum. We want to remind everyone that prayer request forms are available in the pocket on the back of the seats, and you can put them in the prayer box up here, or put them in the offertory bag as they're passed around. The chaplains are also available to pray with you after service on Sundays. We have a fundraiser, and it's called Flowers to Go certificates, and they're still available. They're $25 for a certificate that keeps on giving all year long. You get one small bouquet of flowers once a month for 12 months. Ron has volunteered to organize the men's group meeting on the second Saturday of January, which is January 13th, from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., which includes a potluck breakfast. Sign-up sheet is on the table in the fellowship hall. Our next board meeting is January 21st, 2018. The board will continue to update you weekly, If you have any questions or concerns, please see the board member. Thank you. We will be handing out a piece of paper this morning for you to use for the burning bowl if you want to participate. Thank you very much.
And now I'll be lighting the Christ candle. This candle represents the divine light within each of us. Our invocation statement. Everybody.
We are a welcoming community supporting our mutual quest for spiritual truth. There is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotence.
Thank you. Now it's time for the handshakes and hugs section of the service. Be cautious when you give some people hugs. They're not as young as they used to be.
There we go. There you go, absolutely.
Morning.
Good morning. Oh, that's why I considered all the way home. Fix that.
How are you, man? They've been good.
You're lucky though, you've got some curl in your hair.
Look at this shirt. Love your haircut. Oh, it's so cute.
Did I give you
Some of it used to. Oh, I know. I had a little bit wax on. Oh, hi.
Hello. Very good wife. Happy New Year. I would say Merry Christmas, but Merry Christmas. Oh yeah, just things are everywhere. And parties and everything.
It's hard to get around in here.
I forgot that we were going to Good morning, I'm Barbara.
Good morning.
Oh, and it was awful on Friday.
Michael. Okay.
Sorry, not down the highway. Had to go on this.
One bread, one body, and there's some hand motions that you can observe all day, and we'll repeat it just for One bread, one body, one Lord of all, one cup of blessing which we bless, and we, the many, throughout the earth, we are one body in this one Lord. One more time. One bread, one body, one Lord of all, one cup of blessing which we bless, and we, the many, throughout the earth, we are one body in this one Lord.
Today's daily word, protected. I am grateful for the protection of divine love. At times I may have felt unsafe and sought safety, but I understand that the Lord of my being provides the well-being I need. That certainty is a consistent reminder throughout the Bible. From Deuteronomy 31:6, it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not fail you or forsake you. To Romans 8:31, if God is with us, who is against us? As I enter into the new year, I remember and give thanks that I am protected and loved. I also welcome the opportunity to be a source of love and nurturing for all living beings and for the planet itself. By being an extension of God's protecting presence, I affirm and strengthen my own sense of security. I am grateful for the protection of divine love. From Isaiah 1, verse 17, learn to do good, seek justice, rescue the oppressed, defend the orphan, plead for the widow. Today, I am grateful for the protection of divine love. God bless us.
Thought we'd just do this one a cappella. I love the idea of getting out in the cold and sharing some joy with people. Caroling is such a fun idea. So I wanted to do this one. So here we come a-caroling among the leaves so green. Here we come a-wandering so fair to be seen. Love and joy come to you, and to you your wassail too. And God bless you and send you a happy new year. And God send you a happy new year.
speaker extraordinaire, Mr. Michael Bogar.
Speaker extraordinaire. That's confidence.
We've heard you before.
You have? Well, I'm surprised you said that then. Good morning. Good morning. What's this? Little line right here?
It's a part of the mountain.
It's a bird.
It's a bird.
Part of the mountain. It's a plane.
It's a river.
It's love.
It's a river. A bird, a plane, a river. It's Superman. What? Maybe a trail?
Shadow.
Who knows? I'll get back to that in a minute. I'll tell you why it struck me. Oh, I gotta turn this on, don't I? Is it on now? Yep. How many of you like Christmas Carol, the story, the movie?
Oh, yeah.
You know the story. There are so many movie versions of the story, and people have their favorites. And I have watched it or read it every year for the last 30 years. In fact, we just finished watching probably 4 or 5 versions of it this last Christmas. And I want to share an idea from it this morning, and the idea is about time. Now, let me ask you a question about A Christmas Carol, and think about it for a moment before you answer it. If somebody asks you this question, is Christmas Carol a story about Scrooge transforming himself, would you agree or disagree?
No. Agree.
Some agree. I heard a couple disagree. Why did you disagree?
I think it's a story about finding the love and the happiness in the holiday to last throughout the year.
Okay. Was Scrooge transformed at the end?
Transform himself.
He didn't transform himself, though. That's important. Critically important. I have a couple of books that have been written about Scrooge that I've been reading, and the two that I'm thinking of talk about how Scrooge transformed himself. It's not about how Scrooge transformed himself. Scrooge didn't give a rat's patootie about transformation. He was not a member of a unity church. He was not a New Ager. He was not a Christian, as far as we know. Scrooge was ensconced in his little Scrooge mentality, and I'm going to put him here in Middle Earth because there's the higher realm where the church bells ring in the story, and then there's the lower realm, this lake here from which Marley ascends from the cellar. But Scrooge is living in between the upper world and the lower world, and his consciousness in this realm here was completely unaware of what's going on below and what's going on above. He was concerned only about Scrooge. Each of us is Scrooge at some level. You understand? We are fixed in our worlds of 2017. 2018 is just around the corner. And I'm not talking this morning about what so many New Thought churches talk about in the new year, intention, where we set an intention and then we decide what we're going to have for the new year and we affirm it and all of that sort of thing. That's fine. Go to another Unity church, you'll hear that this morning, but not here. Because I want to talk about something that we oftentimes, I think, forget about in our New Thought churches, and that is that there is an intention to transform each of us apart from our intention to transform anything. Transformation is going on mostly, in my view, of spirituality at the unconscious level. Does that make sense? In other words, there is something automatic or autonomous going on to make you a soul that has nothing to do with your willingness, just like Scrooge. And it's a blessing, because if all of my transformation depended upon me, I'm screwed or Scrooged. So that's the talk this morning. I want to just spend a little time exploring this idea that in 2018, let's try to develop a deeper relationship with cooperating with the transformation process that is doing us. Now, in the Christmas Carol, there are 4 characters that show up that kick Scrooge's butt. And by the end, his butt is transformed. But these four characters were not invited by him. They were not expected by him. In fact, he argues, especially in the beginning, for them to basically go away. Remember Marley? Marley comes from where? In the story. Where's Marley come from? What? I heard some... What? The lower cellar level. We have a video clip from Patrick Stewart's version of the Christmas story, and I want to play this, about 2 minutes of it, because this is Scrooge after he has certified himself as Bah Humbug Man. He wants nothing to do with Christmas. He wants nothing to do with transformation. He's sitting in his little room eating gruel, having a wonderful time. And then Marley shows up. Can we play that? This is the upper realm, waking him up, saying, something's afoot, Mr. Scrooge. He's looking up. Can I get you to pause it for just a moment there, Mark? Now this is very important because most of us in the Unity Church, this is where we focus. You understand? This is where we focus. This is where the Spirit is. This is where the dove is. This is where all the good is. Many of us don't even know that there's another very spiritual world down below here that's working just as much as this upper world. So first this world gets the attention, but then notice where the actual spiritual presence comes from. Okay, go ahead. Bells to rumblings in the basement. Most of us take Prozac when this happens. And up the stairs, from the cellar, from the dark unconscious,
I won't believe it.
and through the door. Can I get you to pause it one more time? In Dickens' story, it's very clear that Marley is a doorman. You understand? Where's the first evidence of this in the story?
On the knocker.
On the door knocker. Scrooge comes to the door, bah humbug, he looks up, and the very door itself has the face of Marley. And then when he gets upstairs and he's sitting in his room, he hears the cellar door open. My suggestion, get a different one of these things. He hears this. He hears the cellar door open. So this is the second part. This is the door of Marley. And that door opens and he comes up the stairs and then he comes through the door. So door, door, door. Is there a theme here? The theme, let's go to Carl Jung and even Jesus. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. And if you open, I will come in and sup with you. Well, in this one, you don't even have to open the frickin' door. You see, sometimes spirit or the transformative experiences, let's go there. The transformative experiences come through the door whether we want them to or not. And this is what happens here. Stuff comes from the underworld, from the dead. So, let's go on.
Business do what will be.
Much.
Who are you, sir?
Ask me who I was.
Very well. Who are you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Can you sit down?
I can.
Well, do it then.
Believe in me.
I don't.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because little things upset them. An upset stomach can put them quite out of order. You could be a crumb of moldy cheese, an underdone turnip.
Moldy cheese. Underdone turnip?
Oh, some British beef. That could be mighty upsetting to the stomach. There's more gravy than grave about you, Jacob.
Okay, you can stop it there, and we're done. Now, this is very, very modern. It was published in 1843, but it was the beginning of what we call the sort of modern movement toward the postmodern world, where the human intellect doubted anything spiritual or supernatural. There was nothing in the basement of consciousness, there's nothing in the attic of consciousness. We are just these conscious ego beings floating around in this physical, sensible world of scientific, rational fact. Well, Dickens challenges that, and he suggests in the midst of the Industrial Revolution in England, which science was bringing all this amazing new technology, that maybe there is a world that exists invisible to us, whether we believe in it or not. And Scrooge was a modern man, because how did he explain Marley's presence? You're a bit of undigested beef, more of gravy, or grave than gravy in you. So this is just sort of trying to explain it away. But the ghost persists. Now, Carl Jung, after all of his years of therapy with clients in Switzerland in the late 1800s, early 1900s, said that when people came to him for therapy, he assumed that therapy had been going on their whole lives. And that they were just coming to him to try to clarify what was going on in the cellar of their own unconscious. Because in this view, the spiritual life is going on always. There's never a moment it's not going on. In fact, Marley's going to say, all I've come to do, Scrooge, is open the door of your consciousness to the possibility of something more going on in you than meets the eye. And Marley announces what? What's coming? Three ghosts. Significantly, they are the ghosts of past, present, future, summed up with one word, which is what? Time. Now, Dickens has this fascinating notion that time is not a clock on a wall. That's the way most of us think of it. We waste time, we use time, time is on my side. In the ancient world, time was seen as a spiritual organism. Now, just contemplate that for a moment. Time was seen as a spiritual organism. What's an organism? Something that's alive. It's not a concept. It's not just something that's measuring the movement of time. Time is a living organism. Therefore, Dickens takes this notion of the ancients. It comes from Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Hindu mythology, Chinese, all the ancient mythologies. Time was a living presence, and we live in it as the cells live in a body. So each of us lives in time. And the organism called time has a personification of present and past and future. And that we are living in all three simultaneously. And all three of them contain the material. Now hear me again. All three of them contain the material that comprises my and your spiritual transformation. So spirituality in this view is located where? In time. The ghost of Christmas past is going to come first to Scrooge, because Marley's opened the door and essentially said, in your unconscious is all you need for spiritual transformation. It's already there. In fact, the whole matrix of your past life is a spiritual reservoir of transformation. All the stuff that has happened to you over your last, who's the youngest person we have in here? We got a little one over here. How old is she?
Just
3?
Yeah.
She has 3 years of experience. The spirit of Christmas past has given her 3 years of experiences. Now, you don't have to raise your hand, but who's the oldest one? You got anybody in their 90s? Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what I say. Why would I say it?
Well, I know.
And Mary, who's watching.
All right. So you have 90 years reservoir of spiritual experience. And each of us, whatever number of years we have had, in Dickens' view and the views of the ancients, whatever past experiences you have had are your ghost of Christmas past. And every one of these experiences, I don't care if it's a marriage, a divorce, having a child, losing a child, getting a job, losing a job, losing weight, putting on weight. You understand all these gains and losses that we, over the years? Dickens is not going to have Scrooge go to church somewhere and try to find God. He is basically saying to the reader, God is already present in your past. All of your past, everything that's been given to you in the past is a spiritual present. That's why it's the ghost of Christmas past. But it's got to work in conjunction with the present and the future. Because spirituality is a living organism that is a trinity of past, present, and future. It's one living organism with three heads. And it is working in you when? Always and always. And most of it is unconscious, because in this story, when Scrooge is having his transformative experiences, where is he? Physically. He's in bed. And he's probably asleep. And these are probably what we call dreams. Nightmares. Some of them, but they're not. Some of them are very pleasant. Some of the past experiences, he goes and sees his childhood friends, and he sees the joy of the past, yes? And he also sees his father abandoning him, right? The past. So there's joy and grief in his past. And in this view, spirituality has given us each a matrix of the past made up of every emotion there is. That every emotion is a living presence. I'm going to skip through some of these here. Why is this not? Can I? Yeah, go ahead and keep going.
Go ahead and try it now.
I think I... There it goes, okay. So here's Marley coming in from the basement. Comes through the door. He says there's three spirits coming, past, present, and future. Three ghosts. And the ghosts, as I said, from the past are living presences. We call them emotions. How many of you have laid in bed at night and reflected on your past? What kind of emotions have you had? I mean, past could be yesterday, right? The fight you had with your partner, or this morning, or just a second ago, and had emotional experiences that you could feel your emotional roller coaster going just on your reflection of the past. Now, in this culture, we explain those emotional experiences as just being simply emotions, memories, reflections. And if they're too troubling, what do? Stuff them. You take a few shots of tequila. I did that all through the 90s. It worked great until it didn't, because it just created more past. Here's what James Hillman says about emotions. In all ancient cultures, what we call emotions would be imagined as what? Gifts of the Spirit. Let me read that again. In all ancient cultures, what we call emotions, let's pretend like we're Catholics for a second here. Do responsive reading with me. In all ancient cultures, what we call emotions would be imagined as gifts of the Spirit. But not mine. So the emotions don't belong to me. The emotions belong to spirits. And they would be treated, in ancient cultures, what we call emotions, would be treated with the respect due to guests, rather than with the hostility that would attempt to get rid of these invaders by tranquilizers, moral commands, don't think about that, or by employing therapeutic techniques to exterminate them. That's what we do in this culture. If we have reflections on the past that trouble us or that bring us joy or cause us to have experiences, we typically see them as either annoying or blessings, but they're not spirits. Dickens is trying to let us know that the past reservoir or matrix each of us has in time is a reservoir of spiritual juice. And that when we're reflecting back, whether it is with joy or with sadness, there is the potential for that to become a spiritual transformation. But you can't get stuck in the past. You have to bring those experiences into the present, because the ghost of Christmas present shows up next. But it shows up based on the past experiences, because it says, okay, now you've done some reflecting on the past, let's bring this into the present and see how these past experiences reflect on what's going on around you right now that you haven't really looked at. Is there a relationship from this to this? So this is a spiritual process. God is, in this view, God is time. So when you're lying in bed going through these reflections, I don't have enough money to pay the rent, I could lose my job, what if this baby is not healthy? You understand? According to Dickens and according to all ancient cultures, these ponderings, these worryings, these reflections are spiritual presences that are coming to bring transformation. But you have to bring it into the present, and then from the present you have to take it to the future. But then we do that anyway. You notice that. We reflect, we feel, we look at our situation currently, we think, oh crap. What's this mean for the future? These are spiritual presences according to Dickens, and these are where spiritual transformations take place, and it has little to nothing to do with you. It's happening all the time, whether you like it or not. We know these experiences, and knowing about them for me personally doesn't make them any easier. I still lie in bed at night and worry, and then go, God, please help me stop worrying. Oh, God, now I'm worried because I'm worrying about not worrying. For 2018, what I'm going to encourage us to focus on, and there are many areas we could look at. Do your intention work too. But what I'm going to encourage you to focus on in 2018 is to try to look at the movement of the clock and time this year as a spiritual organism, and it is in you and it is making you in just this daily stuff that's going on. Everything that's going on in time is a spiritual experience. And at some point, it's going to transform you. When? When?
When we're ready.
When we're ready, or there's no one answer to this.
Every second, every moment.
Every moment?
When it kicks us hard enough.
When it does.
Yeah.
When it does. I've noticed after many years on this planet, more than I care to admit, not quite 90, but it's getting closer, that most of my spiritual transformations come with a critical moment that I have very little, if anything, to do with. Something happens, something clicks, something opens. I find myself going, I've changed. Have I changed?
No.
I've changed, but have I changed myself? I don't think so, not most of the time. I want to share, and I'll close with this, a story. Is this clock right? This is a spiritual experience, just don't forget that. About 3 weeks ago, well, actually several weeks ago, a cat showed up in our backyard, this stray black cat, and we have two little Pomeranians that go out into the backyard to do their business. And when they see the cat, I tell them, chase him out of the yard, because I'm not a cat guy, right? I'm a dog guy.
Okay.
How many of you are dog people? Cat people? Both people? All right, so you see the problem here. So I'm looking at this cat, and I'm just like, I don't want a cat in my yard. The little dogs aren't going to hurt the cat, but they kept chasing the cat out of the yard. Well, winter showed up. And about 3 weeks ago or so, the cat was out sitting on the fence, and the dog sort of chased it down the fence, and it ran away. And I went in the house, and it was getting dark, and it was cold. It was 20 degrees, or, very, very cold. And suddenly, for some inexplicable reason, something transformed in me. I mean, it shocked Cheryl. Because I came in, what did I say?
Do we have anything to feed
Do we have anything to feed this poor little cat? And I'll let, she's a very non-reactive kind of person, but I'll let she went. Like, you're not a cat guy. Suddenly I became a cat guy for this little black cat. And I set up a little place on top of a wood pile for it to eat. And it was a wildcat, as far as I was concerned, because it wouldn't come close. So I set this little thing up, and then I created a little box, and I made a little shelter for it with blankets. And in the box, I put this little warm quilt, and then we hooked up a heating pad. This cat has got it made. But something in my heart broke for that cat. I don't know why and when it happened, because this sort of thing has happened before. It didn't touch me in the least. This is what happened to Scrooge. And what I want to encourage you with as you move into the new year, to continue with your affirmations and intentions and prayer work. I'm not saying no to that. Yes, do your work. But I'm also asking you to realize that as you are working from your world with this upper world for change, never forget that this lower unconscious realm is God, and it is working to change your heart in every circumstance from your past, your present, and your future. Time is God. And every event in time that occurs with you, from the presidential election to your neighbors, struggles with your neighbors, all part of the spiritual transformation, working in the depths of our unconscious to make us into deeper and more interesting souls. Yes?
Yes.
Blessings on you in 2018. We're going to do a burning bowl ceremony here. That clock's right.
Yep.
My clock's not. Oh, good, thankfully. Well, I've got a couple more minutes, so. Let me read a couple more slides here to you. This is what James Hillman says, again, about spiritual presences and emotions. He asks, is it possible that our emotions have their intentions with my soul aside from my intentions with myself? That they are guests in my room. We could also change that word guest to what in lieu of the Christmas carol?
Ghosts.
Ghosts. That the hauntings that come to us in our emotions, and you know what I'm talking about by emotional hauntings? Right? What if they're guests? Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Michael, because Rumi has an answer. Rumi says this human being is a guest house, or this being human is a guest house. By the way, the Disney version of A Christmas Carol, Jim Carrey playing the role of Scrooge, if you look at the house that Scrooge goes into, the windows, the top of the house have a face. There's two eyes, a nose, because each of us is a house, a guest house, and each of us is haunted. This being human is a guest house, every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as what? As a guide from beyond. What a different way to view our emotions. To see each of them as a potential guide. Now let me just say that sometimes when the guests show up and they just are intruders, you know what we may be learning to do? Just tell them to get the hell out. Sometimes that's what we need to learn. Go away. I'm not going to dwell on you today. But other times, if they keep coming back, the same ones, if they're resent, resentment, resentment. If these resentments keep coming back as resentments toward that person that I hate, it may be a ghost bringing us some message that we need to take from that past resentment into the present and do something different with the future. So, as we close this morning, we've got a burning bowl over here. Do you have, I didn't ask you, where'd Cindy go? Do you have something set up for a burning bowl ceremony? I'm it?
Yep, you're
all right. So, as David, I think, is going to be singing for us.
He'll be instrumental.
Instrumental. And do whatever you do, what Cindy's going to do, or you guys are going to do, take a moment and get a piece of slip of paper and see what is haunting you. Most of us have something haunting us, yes?
Yes.
Find what ghost is haunting you and write its name on that piece of paper. And take it to the burning bowl, and as every ancient culture did with sacrifice, take that piece of paper and simply say, as you put it into the flame, I offer this up to you, Almighty, infinite God, the God of infinite light, love, and truth, to show me what's going on in this underworld. Reveal to me what you want me to know in your time. Or something like that. So, I'm done.
Here you go, let's go.
Got a couple of pins here.
Oh. I brought it. What's she talking
As you are preparing your tithes and love offerings today, think about how blessed you are. And as you are writing your check or giving your gift, send out the blessing. Debbie, could you come up too? Together, please.
I give willingly, joyfully, and lovingly, knowing that God is the constant source of my supply. I give with graciousness and receive with gratitude.
Thank you. Now is the time for good news. Good news, we were blessed with a beautiful day to come in and be together. We were blessed to have our speaker, Michael Bogar, come and talk to us today. Is there anybody who would like to tell us other ways we were blessed? Not today, okay.
Oh, we got one.
I am so blessed because my wife Lois is here with us still.
One of the things that we as a congregation do is we have the Food for Life bag. We give food for the people who have nothing and live on the streets. Could we have a volunteer to fill this bag? Thank you. Yeah, they're especially hungry. Do we have any children today, other than the 3-year-old?
Yep.
No? Okay. And I think it's time for our peace song. Everybody could rise, hold hands.
The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over